Good morning, this is KELOLAND on the go with all you need to know in news and weather as you begin your day.
A former Pennington County Sheriff's deputy has been identified as the deputy killed Saturday in an officer-involved shooting in Wisconsin.
29-year-old Katie Leasing joined the St. Croix County Sheriff's Office in Wisconsin in 2022, according to a media release from the department. Leasing was with the Pennington County Sheriff's Office here in South Dakota for 2 years prior to moving to Wisconsin. According to the Wisconsin State Department of Justice, Leasing was responding to a potential drunk driver in a ditch in the township of Glenwood Saturday night. Shortly after getting to the scene, she reported shots fired.
The DOJ says Leasing was shot, hospitalized, and later died. Authorities say the suspect took off running and was later found dead in a wooded area with a gunshot wound. The Pennington County Sheriff's Office shared photos of Leasing during her time with the county on Twitter. In the tweets, Sheriff Brian Mueller wrote, quote, "Caitlin was an outstanding law enforcement officer, positively impacting many in our county. Most importantly, she was an outstanding human being."
Investigators in Rapid City are looking into what sparked a fire in the central part of town over the weekend. Officials say it happened just before 9:30 Friday night in the 100 block of East St. Charles Street. Crews arriving on scene found fire coming from the back of a home.
Authorities say explosions were going off before and as crews arrived, with propane bottles and other fuel canisters exploding due to the fire. The homeowner was not home at the time of the fire and no one was hurt. Authorities in Sioux County, Iowa say a toddler is dead after an accident on a farm south of Sioux Center over the weekend. The sheriff's office says 30-year-old Christopher Mawson was driving an SUV on the farm just before 6 o'clock Saturday night.
He stopped to unhook a trailer, and when he started to drive away, he struck 20-month-old Walker Mawson. Walker was taken to Sioux Center Health, where he was pronounced dead. Meanwhile, a Hull, Iowa man was arrested after a weekend traffic stop east of Rock Valley. The Sioux County Sheriff's Office says it happened just after midnight on Saturday morning.
During the investigation, officials say the deputy suspected that 27-year-old Evan Mara was under the influence of a drug and found a controlled substance in his possession. Mara was charged with operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated and possession of marijuana.
Now let's get a check on our forecast with meteorologist Brian Carstens. Good morning, Brian.
All right, good morning. Our forecast today, overall, looks like a fairly quiet pattern today in KELOLAND. Temperatures will be a little cooler in western and northern areas, primarily in the middle to upper 60s from Rapid City to Pierre, Aberdeen at 67. There is a chance of a shower, thunder shower that direction. Sioux Falls today in the middle 70s. How about the rain chances this week? We'll talk a little bit more about that subject coming up in a few minutes.
Thank you, Brian. We have an exciting update to a story we brought you earlier this year about a young Brookings boy who was born with a heart defect and later needed a transplant.
8-year-old Camden Madsen received the call last week and had the heart transplant surgery on Thursday. He had been waiting at a Chicago hospital since mid-February.
They asked him if he was ready to go home. He shook his head yes. So I just feel like we're just getting there. And it's good to see that he's still in there, even though he's on all these medications and, sedated, that he's still in there just fighting to go home.
Madsen says this heart should last about 10 years until he'll need to be listed on a transplant list again. If you'd like to help the family, there's a GoFundMe attached to this story right here on KELOLAND.com. A Lincoln High School art senior is celebrating a national achievement for her artwork. Ella Ratliff sent 4 of her pieces to the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards.
This is a national competition that receives thousands of submissions from across the country. Ratliff won a gold medal for the entire region and is now preparing for the awards ceremony held at Carnegie Hall in New York.
It's been like a dream of mine for forever because this art competition is like the biggest one in like the country. It's very prestigious. There's a lot of like college merits for it, and it's just really fun to enter because it really pushes you as like an artist.
Ratliff plans to fundraise the money for the trip by doing commissions for pet portraits. Local athletes have been playing catch-up this spring due to the snowy start to their season.
High school girls softball teams from across South Dakota competed in a tournament at Sherman Park this past week. The O'Gorman team played 6 games last week just to get caught up with their schedule.
We had some pretty bad weather at the beginning of the season, but it's nice that Sherman Park is available to us, and all the AA schools wanted to come to town this weekend so we can get in a whole bunch of lost games.
13 teams from the Sioux Falls area, Pierre, Rapid City, Brookings, Sturgis, and Aberdeen competed in the tournament. The state tournament takes place in early June in Aberdeen. That's a look at some of our top stories.
Now let's get one last look at your weather with meteorologist Brian Karstens. Brian?
All right, our weather forecast as we look at this pattern coming up the next few days. Obviously, some rain chances are in the mix. Let's take a look at that as we begin and kick things off here. Day 1, today mild, I would say, for the most part. 70s in Sioux Falls. We're not quite to that level in northern and western South Dakota, but as we kind of cycle through the weather, there will be some widely scattered rain chances. There are some flare-ups coming up tomorrow, kind of drifting north and west of Sioux Falls. We'll watch that. Again, I wouldn't get too wrapped up in anything big there, but at least some rain could move through the radar sweeps. There's another cluster that tries to form tomorrow night in south central South Dakota. Beyond that, it looks like Wednesday we're at least priming the air a little bit better. We've got a southeasterly wind, and I would suggest here at that point in the forecast we will be watching into the end of the week for some rain chances ahead of that low pressure center. Now, keep in mind that as we watch this, we're also mindful that there's some drought conditions and impacts of some of that in Kansas and also adjacent areas of Nebraska. So these rain chances don't necessarily come in as one large swath of rain here. My main thinking is that as we get toward the end of the week, your best chances of rain will be behind the low in western Nebraska or western South Dakota, kind of wrapping around that. The front end of that low pressure center will probably feature more scattered thunderstorms, and that could be including Sioux Falls. So that's why we would position Sioux Falls at a 40 to 50% chance of rain, and then eventually that system will head to the north, and then that'll kind of end this cycle of scattered rain. So keep an eye on it. I know many of you are kind of hunting around for some rain chances, and I would not argue with you a bit on that as the topsoil has dried out in recent weeks. Here's the forecast here. Aberdeen, you're actually still running a little bit above average the last 30 days, and you might even get a chance of a shower yet today with a high at 67. I would say Sioux Falls will keep that rain chance pretty contained tomorrow, pretty limited. But Wednesday's a 30% chance. Thursday, 40%. Friday, 50%. And highs will be pretty mild ahead of that storm system in the upper 70s to near 80. Aberdeen, certainly frequent chances of rain picking up steam here. A chance of a shower tomorrow, 30% level. A better chance by Thursday into Friday as the main system pulls out. And for Pierre in central South Dakota, I would at least say 60% chances of rain by Thursday, even into Friday. Looks like a little better setup. The farther west you head toward the Black Hills, it obviously is cooler as the rain chances are incorporated in that forecast. Check out more details with your weather online at KELOLAND.com.